Hi guys, this is week 45 Project Life, and I will apologise up front for my voice. I am not feeling the best. I've managed to come down with a cold, which seems remarkably unfair at this time of the year. This week I've actually gone back. I had put away my November Citrus Twist Pocket Life kit, but I decided to pull it back out and see what else I could find to use in it. And as you'll see, I managed not too badly. I sort of thought I had used most of what I was going to use out of it, but these photos were either plain black and white that I had edited that way because they were not great photos, and all the other photos had pops of pink and orange in them, so that was sort of my jumping off point for the colour scheme this week. I did find a couple of pink and orange cards in there, and then I did try some of these brighter coloured papers, but I actually like adding, I think it's got like a sort of grey grid to it, and it just had a tiny little piece of pink fake washi tape at the top there, so I split that 6x8 in half, and I'm using that for both of the 4x6 spots. Now my issue came with that the rest of the bits that were left in the kit, I either wasn't intending to use them, or they didn't really go with this color scheme that I've created for myself, so I will have to add to this kit. I'm not going to be using it exclusively this week, and I think that's one thing I probably don't do enough of, is just add to the kits that I'm using. So I figure once I get to this point in a kit, it normally just goes in a drawer until I decide to go through it and purge a lot of it. But I think there's probably a lot more weeks of usable stuff in here if I just add a few other bits and pieces from my stash. So I've gone through the remaining die cuts, and I did find a few that were going to go with this pink and orangey kind of colour scheme, and I just swapped those papers so that the pink fake washi tape there is at the top rather than the bottom, because this bottom piece is going to end up, well, not busy, but it's got a couple of different die cuts on it already, and it didn't need that washi tape at the top. I've added a tiny little tab under my photo of Lily, and just a little journaling spot that actually won't end up with any journaling on it at all. I'm just going to do some stamping. I didn't do any journaling this week. It was sort of late when I was filming this, and I couldn't really be bothered. So I've stuck down my photos, and I didn't like that pink lovingness on the orange card, but I did want to use it, so I'm going to add it to my photo with Mel. The trouble is that in that photo with Mel, she's not loving it, so you'll see how I alter that soon enough. I moved on to my title card, in which I had picked out all of these beautiful pink florals. So as you can see, I thought I was done with this kit, but obviously not, because I never use these pink florals at all. And I've got a little pink tab there too. So I'm just creating a visual triangle on this card with the three pink flowers. And the green alphas were never going to work, so I went through my stash and I found they're the same alpha, the same style of alpha, just in a pink and an orange. I hadn't decided at this point which one I was going to use, but I decided either of those were going to work with the colour scheme. Once I've glued all of these little florals down, I can go ahead and trim off the edges. I've added all of them, all three of them, off the card, and I like the way that looks much better than placing them onto the card. It makes it look more purposeful, I think, rather than just sort of plonking them down anywhere. It makes it part of sort of a cohesive design. And I did actually probably cover up a little bit too much of my label with the floral at the top here, so I have to be a tiny bit careful with my stamping. I'm not going to be able to fit the year date on there without stamping it over top of the floral. I probably should have done the stamping first, so I'm cheating and just using the alpha packaging there to mask off my stamp before I add my little heart, and then I can add my alphas. And I've decided to go with the orange ones just because otherwise there's going to be way too much pink at the top here. Having the orange alphas balances out this title card, but also sets the tone for the rest of the page. So as you can see, this alpha set has more than enough E's left over, also has numbers, so it solves a multitude of problems there. And that's my title card done. In fact, it's just about my whole spread done, really. There's not a whole lot more to do this week. I did keep it really simple. Shockingly, I know. Now I pulled out this die cut, but I'm not going to end up using it anywhere. I put it on that card with Lily, but I don't use that there. I'm going to do a tiny stamp here, and I've picked out the Snarkily Yours, I think it's volume 3 stamp set. That's from Citrus Twist as well, just to add to this kit a little bit, because the stamps that were in the kit didn't really go with my photos this week. So I've added the stamp that says spoiler alert, and then I'm going to use those same pink alphas just to spell out road trip underneath here. And I started off thinking it was easier to do it vertically like this because I could actually see what I was doing. My own hands didn't get in the road. But it's not. It's not easier. It looks funny. It was hard to get the spacing right, so I do end up pulling these off and putting them back on. And I started in the middle in an attempt to try and space out the word underneath the stamp, which would have made way more sense to put these alphas down first and then do the stamp. But in the end, it sort of works, because if I had centered the road trip perfectly under the stamp, I would have lost some of that pink because it would have been on the lighter part of the photo. So although it was a mistake, it sort of looks intentional. Now I go to glue down this die cut and it's too sort of big. What I'm going to do is add some alphas to the top. So the same way that I've just done with the stamp and the alphas, I'm going to do this with this die cut. So I've just trimmed it down a tiny bit so that I've got enough space to add the alphas at the top without the die cut covering up Mel's ears. So like I said, she was not loving this, so that's exactly what I'm spelling out, not loving this, and it just makes that sentiment make sense for the photo. So I think that's another thing. You can always add a word to your die cuts, sentiments, stamps, whatever, to make them fit the photo that you want them to use them for. So they don't always have to have one purpose. The last thing I'm going to do is add a few more of these Snarkily Yours stamps, and that's purely because I had decided at this point that I didn't want to do any journaling on this page. Quite a few of the stories from this week have ended up in my traveler's notebook anyway, so I have those sort of things documented down somewhere else, so I'm not worried that I don't have any journaling on here. And I actually really love the sentiments on these stamps, so they work perfectly with the photos. The photo of Lily there says, do it, me encouraging shenanigans, which it totally was. We had to sneak her into a hotel because she ended up accidentally coming with us on a trip, hence the road trip at the top there. She was supposed to be with a dog sitter, but that fell through at the last minute, so we ended up having to sneak her into the hotel in a suitcase, and she was way better than I thought she would be. So I think that stamp works perfectly for her, as does the stamp for my sister's baby shower, which says family, 1 tent away from a full-blown circus, perfect for our family gathering. So there we go, that's this week all done. If I've got anything to share with you, it's that don't forget to pull out those extra supplies. You never know how many more weeks you're going to get out of a kit. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you want to keep watching, there's a couple more videos on screen. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Bye.